After a few quite testing months in 2025, we finally come to a period of blessing, of ease and harmony. May 2025, I have good news for you. We went through Mars, Venus, Mercury retrograde, 2 eclipses, Saturn, Venus conjunctions, very intense influences in the last 3-4 months. But now we're gonna take a breath of fresh air and relief. As you can see, most of the transits and aspects between planets in May are harmonious, trines, sextiles. There are here and there a square, but it's very minimal compared to what we've been going through. We're like a soldier coming out of a battle. And we'll be in the month of May, we'll be recovering, recuperating, improving. Things will start looking up. We're out of the hardest period of 2025. So with this good news, we're gonna have a full moon in Scorpio with opposition with Uranus around the 12th of May, which might be a bit more excitable, unpredictable, intense, like the energy of Scorpio, but pretty much everything around it is fantastic. But the biggest event in May is that towards the end, on the 25th of May, Saturn is moving to Aries for the first time since 29 years, the 1995, 6, something like that it was then. In Aries again, and it will stay there for 3 months this year, and then 26 and 27, the whole 2 years it will be in Aries. So this video will focus on how Saturn, the bad big wolf of astrology, how you can tame it, how you can turn it into a loyal dog that will guard your back and to thrive through this period. So stay with me to see how Saturn will affect you. Actually, if you want to really dive into Saturn in Aries, I've created a 3-hour video plus around 40 pages PDF that covers absolutely every possible influence of Saturn in Aries. Say if you have Venus in Gemini, Saturn will try sextile it, or if you have Libra, Jupiter, Saturn will oppose it, or if you have Cancer, Moon, Saturn will square it. What are the influences on a personal level with many real life stories and remedies and how to overcome it and how to do the best out of it. Just $12. Check it out. I always try to be as affordable as possible. But now let's begin. I'm excited. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, May 2025. Sagittarius, the energy is getting lighter and fresher and more fiery. Venus is going to be in another fiery sign in Aries, in your 5th house. And if you've had any problems in the previous 2-3 months with your romantic life, it starts going positive, things improve. Or if you've had any lack of problems with enjoying yourself, pleasures or creativity, again, it starts getting good, it improves, you can have more fun. Venus loves being in the 5th house. It gives you more luck, it gives you more good karma. It's the house of good karma. Venus unlocks it. More enjoyments of life. Not the ones, it's kind of like to be able to enjoy, to have fun, to be more creative. All of this becomes easier for you, Sagittarius, with Venus there. Even romance is good, in relationships with children. If you have to have fun, is also positive, planning such activities. And Mars is in another fire sign, making another trine to Sagittarius. So you become like a fire trine, grand trine for you. Venus, Mars is very sexy month for you. Grand trine between your sign, Mars and Venus. Mars and Venus have zest for life, enjoyment of life, passion for life in fire signs. You'd feel like more extra this month and more alive. Till now for 2-3 months we had so many planets in Pisces, Venus, Mars, Saturn, the North Node, retrograde planets. It's kind of a Debbie Downer for us fire signs. It's kind of I want to fly in the skies, but you're down in the bogs, in the feelings and emotions, and you're feeling maybe like congested, literally or metaphorically. For me it was literal as well. The congestion is still there, and now it's like lights up. The planets move into fire signs, Venus, Mars, and you start feeling more yourself, and you start feeling more excitable, more fun, Mars in the ninth house, another lucky house. You just feel more like yourself, like fire, like light, like passion. Like the ninth house is a Sagittarius house where Mars is more driven, more positive, more full of hope and faith. Yes, you might have a few spats with others about strongly expressing your belief system. Mars is very passionate, and ninth house is your belief system. So you might, with a few people, kind of trying to preach on them, or if they're trying to preach or impose their opinions on you, they can be a clash. But overall, Mars in the ninth house is very good for you. Gives you energy, gives you drive, gives you passion, excitability. Things move smoothly with support and so on. And there is a full moon in your 12th house around the 12th. Some secrets can come to the surface, that week from the 12th to the 18th. Surprising secret, something that you are not aware of, missing piece of information can come to you, or you might feel very intuitive. This 12th house is intuition, or you might have a dream around that time that shows you some truth, directs you from your ancestors, from your loved ones that are departed, to connect with you, because this is the house of the invisible worlds that connect with us with this full moon. You might have some deep spiritual realization, important dream, or you might have past life regression, or anything spiritual that you do, or introspection about the past and realizing what you have to let go. This full moon is about endings, releasing, in the 12th house of endings, releasing. 12th house is about unhealthy habits, releasing an unhealthy habit, letting it go, realizing what your self-sabotaging behaviors are and releasing them, realizing some forgotten memory about why you're self-sabotaging yourself, realizing it on a deep level and releasing as well, or seeing the results of something you've been doing before. But the really big event this month is that Saturn is moving into your 5th house. On the 25th of May, it will stay there till September, only 3 months. Then it comes back into your 4th house, directly squaring you. And then it comes back again 2026, the whole 2026, pretty much the whole 2027 and part of 2028. Saturn will be in your 5th house. You just dip your toes now to feel what the energy of Saturn in the 5th house is for a few months, 2-3 months. Some of you might really feel the force of it in 26, 27, but do bookmark this video for further use. Maybe come back here in a year or two to realize and make sense of what's happening in your life, because I'm not going to talk about Saturn in your 5th house, but you want to have available this information to when you see what's happening and you say, good, I'm doing this. This is an alignment to what I'm supposed to do. Or someone breaks your heart, Saturn in the 5th house sometimes can be this. And you're like, to understand why it's happening, and I'll explain all of this. But first of all, I want to say Saturn is ending squaring Sagittarius. For the past 2-3 years, it was squaring you. Very difficult, challenging transit. Maybe some of you felt it in 2025, others in 2024, others in 2023, where Saturn squared the sun or ascendant or moon. It's challenge. A square is a challenge, blockage. So you need to correct something, change something. But from the moment Saturn enters your Aries, it will start trining Sagittarius. So this now, and this year, only the first 2-3 degrees of Sagittarius will feel it. 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees maybe will feel the trine. But when Saturn trines your sign, fantastic. It's still making an aspect, but it's not as a challenge anymore. You still have to make efforts. You still have to, Saturn still gives responsibilities and duties of some sort. But because it's a trine, the responsibility and duty is one that you feel the meaning for, and you do it with more desire, and it's not with blockages. And whatever you build when Saturn trines your sun, moon, or ascendant, it's long lasting. And you receive support from the higher forces, from invisible forces as well. And when Saturn is trine your sun, it's usually, and it's an opening trine to you, you're building something, because Saturn was in your sign, 7-8 years ago? And now is the first trine it makes to you. So something you've been building or doing will strengthen, will grow gradually over the next 2-3 years, will become more stable and long lasting. You can grow a business, for example, gradually for the next 2-3 years. You can grow, nothing. Saturn doesn't do anything fast. You can grow some vision of yours. Fifth house rules your creative ideas. Say you've come up with an idea for a business. You have fifth house is our natural talents. You have a natural talent as a communicator. You have a natural talent in sport. You have a natural talent and something that you've been developing as a hobby, as that you're passionate about. You can turn it into business now when Saturn is transiting your fifth house. Saturn is work, something serious. Saturn rules your third house of skills, second house of money, going into the fifth house of career, original ideas, talents. You can turn a talent or a skill or a gift, you can monetize it. Saturn rule of the second house. If you have an original idea, gradually you can apply it, put it into form, manifest it. These are the vibrations of Saturn. Now, so it's very good when it comes to maybe putting some talent or gift of yours into a business, into growing your own baby. Fifth house rules children, babies, but it's not just real babies. We can grow a business into a baby, like a baby. Nurture it, grow it gradually, and so on. I remember when I had Saturn in the fifth house from my moon, not from the ascendant, but from my moon, I was really growing my business. It was a very good period, and I met the love of my life, my husband, with Saturn in the fifth house, because fifth house is also love. So if you meet relationships now, romantic ones, they will be only serious ones for commitment, because Saturn is a serious planet. When it's in your fifth house, it doesn't want to waste time, and you can even cut off romantic relationships, and you can even stop feeling romantically attracted to someone if it's not the real deal. I remember I stopped suddenly loving my husband when Saturn entered in my fifth house, and I was like, I'm not happy anymore. I'm not happy. I realized I was not in love, and I told him I'm not in love, and we separated, and I meet the love of my life straight away, someone that we immediately committed to. So if you start relationships now, there might be age difference. My husband was younger than me, my current husband that I met during Saturn in the fifth house from my moon. There might be age difference, or they might have a Saturnian slant to them romantically. Like as a person, they might be Capricorn, or they might be strong Libra, which is also Saturnian in nature, or they might be something senior in some respect to you, or but also if you're in a relationship that is not good, it will show you the romantic where all the problems are. It will show you either you feel detachment, that it fizzles off, because Saturn subdues passion. Saturn, it doesn't mean you can't feel passion when Saturn is in the fifth house. My sister-in-law met the love of her life with Saturn in the fifth house. You see, Saturn also means the past. For her, it was someone from the past that they were just friends 15 years ago, and then they discovered themselves as romantic partners. And you can commit, but also you can have a romantic disappointment, especially if the person doesn't fulfill, because you're gonna start having more rigorous demands romantically. You're gonna have to put some rules there, like this song I count no new rules. There's very much Saturn in the fifth house. Dua Lipa, I have new rules, I count them. Don't answer the phone if he calls in the middle of the night. Don't be his booty call. If you're a young age, and if you haven't already sorted out your moral principles and rules romantically, Saturn in the fifth house is the time when you do it. And I remember someone close to me, when Saturn was in the fifth house, she went back to an ex-boyfriend who used to be abusing her before, and she went back just to see maybe, and he abused her again, made her feel awful. She went for one day to visit him, and she said, and she had at the beginning of Saturn in the fifth house another relationship with a romantic partner was years older than her, but he was treating her very poorly. Her confidence, herself, he really stamped on her self-confidence, and she was like, no, I no more. I can. And she tried, like, she really saw what doesn't work romantically, the mistake she's making, the asshole she's letting close to her. And then she set her new rules. And by the end of this transit of Saturn in her fifth house, she had a new romantic partner that she's still with now. What is it? 6 years later. So yes, you can have romantic, but you have to remove the bullshit and you have to put barriers and some rules. Also, sometimes, like my husband, when he had Saturn through the fifth house, we had just had two babies and they were a few months and a year old or 2 years. So we had a lot of responsibilities with children. So we couldn't, we couldn't do much about the romantic part. And would have to plan it very well. So if we had to go to dinner or if we had to do something fun together, which is fifth house, it had to be very regimented, very planned, which is Saturn. But it was for a good cause. We were raising little kids, but yeah, we were like, oh, I wish we could go somewhere. Oh, I wish we could sneak out. But yeah, we had to plan it weeks in advance, organize with nannies, with grandmas, and so on. So sometimes you are deprived a bit from fun when Saturn is in the fifth house, or from romance because maybe you have different responsibilities and duties that are priority. They become priority for you. Fifth house is like, and Saturn in the fifth house, like, I don't want to waste time to go and party. Your priorities change how to have fun. You start having fun in a more mature way. Saturn is maturity in a way that doesn't harm you as much. Saturn is to postpone immediate gratification for the purpose of something long term, for the purpose of something more gratifying in the long term. Maybe you're building a business. That's why you're not going out and having as much fun or dating as much. Or maybe you're a serial dater on Tinder or whatever, or Match.com, and Saturn comes into your fifth house and says enough. You're going to feel like enough. You're going to have a few disappointments. Then you'll say, now I either want something serious, or, or if you've been using romantic partners and being wishy-washy and not being honest with them, now you'd bear those consequences. Saturn is karma for anything to do with romantic. Also fifth house, but if you're a good, honest, decent person, you can find someone very much more committed. Then fifth house is also creative projects. We talked about that. It might feel a bit more strained to be creative during this time, but you have to learn to plan it and say every day I'll write a page, or every day I'll do a little bit of this or a little bit of that, rather than wait for the inspiration to flow, because it doesn't flow as naturally when Saturn is in the fifth house. So if you feel at moments you don't feel as creatively inspired, it's so you can learn like a soldier to be disciplined with your creativity. Believe me, creativity and inspiration can be trained to come, like to be automated. This is another word for Saturn, to be automated. Like the Pavlov's dog, at the sound of a click, oh, you become more creative. It's true. If you give yourself every day, it's a bit boring process rather than waiting for inspiration, but say 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I sit and I do something creative, or I think of business ideas, or I think of new ways to make money. These are all fifth house things, creative. Then your mind, your brain at that time will start dishing out creative ideas. So yeah, that's another way. Fifth house is also your children. Now, there can be more responsibilities around children, or your children might be going into a new stage of maturity. They're entering, like they're becoming more mature, they're entering. But usually they might be even going through some difficulty, like it's harder for them to study, or the material is hard, or going through a new school, or some other maturation, going from into teenagehood, where they become more difficult. Sometimes relationships with children, when Saturn is in the fifth house, can get strained if Saturn is making hard aspects from there. So if you have planets in Libra, in Cancer, in Capricorn, in Aries, and I speak to you in that video about Saturn in Aries, which is just $12, about all the possible aspects of Saturn, sextiles, trines, squares to all of the possible planets in your horoscope. And if Saturn is making some harder aspects, sometimes you might have to help a growing child or a grown-up child, or maybe they're in the next stage of their life. They're getting pregnant, they're getting married, they're getting a job, Such kind of pivotal, important things might be happening in the life of your child, or straining sometimes the relationships because of the difficult aspects. So you can put new rules. Or maybe the children are putting new rules for them. Maybe they're growing up and they don't want to be treated like children. Or maybe you've been a friend to your children. Instead of setting rules, now Saturn says you need to set some rules, not just for your lovers and romantic partners, also for your children. And then fifth house is, we said children, creativity. I think we covered it all. Having more mature fun. Workout is sixth house. Workout for fun. Workouts, I take on some difficult sport to work out for fun on as well. You can be more committed to working out. Weightlifting. Sagittarius, Aries is muscles. Saturn is weights. Weightlifting, or kind of calisthenics. Was it calisthenics, where you use your muscles more with your own body weight rather than weights to develop muscles or something like that. This can be a very good remedy for Saturn through the fifth house, or just that you're working on some project and that's why you postpone the fun part a bit, or you have to plan your fun part, or you learn to have fun in a more mature way, a more serious way. Let's say, how do you have fun in a more serious way? But yeah. So thank you so much. And if you want to find out more, again, check out my Saturn in Aries in-depth webinar